Okay, update number two. Kiara's Fight for Life. It is November 12th today. We left off on November 3rd, and where we left off, it was 7:35 a.m. She took some gabapentin. She looked pretty good. She still had her small fits of aggressive grooming, but it was much more normal than her weird night where it went on for like 15 minutes. But back to her normal fits of grooming that she has had in the past, and her stool is looking pretty good. No more diarrhea or anything like that, so that's great. To date, she is doing quite well. She's very energetic. She's very affectionate. She's wanting to play. She's wanting to cuddle. She wants to be outside of the room. She wants to go back outside. She's got all of this energy. She's looking very, very good. So we're very optimistic. It's huge. It's very huge. But yeah, we'll catch you up. At 10 p.m., we gave her some more gabapentin. She didn't eat much that day, so we tossed some wet food on her dry food to see if she would eat it. And she immediately started eating, but she didn't eat much. And then November 4th, we gave her some more gabapentin as prescribed. We've been crushing up the vitamins and putting it into her wet food to see if we can get her to start eating the vitamins. With the vitamins, we've been crushing them up into a very fine powder, like it's dust basically when it goes into her wet food, and we mix it up and make sure that she doesn't even notice it's there when she starts eating it. So that's been a huge help because she actually will eat the vitamins if they are crushed up into a fine powder and sprinkled onto her food like salt, like that meme of the dude pushing salt off of his elbow. I don't know. I guess she's a meme cat, but she loves it, so she's been eating that a lot more. That's great. Her stool is still looking very healthy. She had 3 lysine treats by themselves around 12:45, and then at 12:50, that's when we put the crushed up vitamin in her wet food, and she's still drinking plenty of water, so it's a huge plus. At 1:25, she ate some of the wet food with the vitamins, and then that continued to happen more and more, and she would even eat her dry food as well. And by 4:34, she had eaten pretty much all of it, and she continued eating her healthy dry food. So she's gone back to her normal behavior of grazing. So when we were a little worried last time that she wasn't eating as much, I think it's because for so long she just wasn't eating anything that her body was just like, dude, we're starving, get us some food. So it got to the point where she would just chow down on anything as soon as she got the opportunity. But now that she's starting to gain some weight back, she's looking much healthier with her body size. It's almost like her body is telling her, okay, we're good now, thanks. So she's going back to her usual pattern of grazing. So she eats some, goes and plays, goes and takes a nap, comes back, eats some, goes and plays, comes back, eats some. She's not sitting down and eating everything in one setting, which is what she never used to do. And when she started doing that after her surgery, can only assume that she was starving and she just really wanted some food. So that's huge that she's getting back to her normal patterns. And then at 8:25, we gave her some more gabapentin, and she finished all of her wet food containing the vitamin. And every single bit of dry food, she ate all of it. So throughout the day, she went from a full food bowl and a portion of wet food and finished all of it. That's big. That's really big. And 10:30, she ate a bunch more dry food. And she still has tons of energy. And we decided to move her from the small room to the bigger room, try to get her out of her cabin fever. She seemed kind of depressed in that other room. Maybe that's why another reason why she wasn't eating as much when we weren't there, because she was just kind of sad and there was not really anywhere for her to see outside or get some sunlight. So we moved her into the big bedroom where we sleep, and there's plenty of windowsills that sit super low that she could just easily hop up onto without any energy whatsoever. And I think that's helping her a lot. At 5 a.m. on November 5th, she woke up in my arms again. She was very, very comfy, very comfortable sleeping. And she ate all of her wet food overnight. So we gave her more wet food that night, and she ate all of it, and it had more crushed up vitamins in it. And by morning, it was gone. So she's definitely hungry, definitely eating, which is very optimistic. Makes us very optimistic. 8:50, we gave her more gabapentin, and she ate more of her dry food. At 9:03, Dr. So-and-so emailed me back and said that there is a ivermectin dosage that can be administered to cats more frequently, and she was willing to prescribe it to us. So she is willing to work with us. The vet is willing to work with us to see if this can actually help her. So that's huge. Biggest issue, though, is we would be dropping down to 2 milligrams per kilogram once a week for 8 weeks. That's the length of the prescription. That is tiny. That is 1/3 of what we've been giving her, and she's been handling the 3 milligram doses pretty well. Now that we know that we need to space it out over weeks, of course, we were going to switch it down to a smaller dosage, maybe 2 milligrams every once a week. But she wants us to do 0.2 milligrams per kilogram, which is tiny. We're talking 8 milligrams. She's basically going to be taking 8 milligrams once a week, or 0.8 milligrams, once a week. And that is tiny compared to what we've been giving her. And we don't know if her taking that small amount is actually going to affect cancer, because usually when cats take that small amount, it's for stuff like parasites or scabies or some kind of infection, parasitic infection. So we don't know if that's actually going to help target cancer, because according to all the human studies, you need to take a lot than the normal dose in order to actually get it to hit cancer. So I emailed her back to see if we could compromise on getting a bigger dose, and we'll go over that in a minute. But so Kiara will be taking 0.8 milligrams once a week for 8 weeks when if prescribed, which it did get prescribed. So I picked that up, I think November 7th, if I'm remembering correctly. We'll get to it. And I asked them if we could round it off to 1 milligram a week, just bump it up a little bit more, see if we can get enough in our system to fight the cancer. And at 12 p.m., we had a checkup at the vet. She weighed in at 4.2 kilograms. That is a 0.2 kilogram increase from the last checkup. She is gaining weight back. It is official. This is big. She has an appetite. She's eating. She's gaining weight back. She must feel somewhat good. So she's feeling good enough to eat and continue eating, and it stays down, and she's actually able to process it. That's huge. So we're hoping that it can continue like that. They also showed that the liquid between her skin and her tissue that we were talking about in the last video had decreased by 50%. So keeping her isolated in that small room for another week should resolve the issue. But we're going to keep her in the bigger room. There's still not very many places for her to jump around and move around, but it's much better for her to be in that room than be depressed and sad in that tiny room where she can't move around. All right, and then the vet also said they found a heart murmur that wasn't there at the last checkup. This was most likely due to stress. The vet was crowded. Like, there were dogs everywhere in that when I visited the vet this time. So she was not happy about that. She was crying the entire car ride. She was hyperventilating in the car a little bit. And then seeing all those dogs in the waiting room probably did not help her. But regardless, they said her heart is very healthy despite the murmur. So it was probably just stress-induced. It wasn't a massive problem that could result in other problems. But yeah, just something to keep in mind. At 1 p.m., she had one lysine treat, and she didn't eat the other 4, so I put it in her dry food. And I put another vitamin in her wet food, and she started eating it immediately. So she does like the wet food more than the dry food, but she's still eating a lot of the dry food. At 1:35, she started aggressively grooming her hips and back again, despite no ivermectin. And it didn't last long, maybe 5 minutes, then back to normal. So it's just like her previous grooming sessions where she'd be like, "What is that? Get it off of me!" And then she'd go crazy licking herself, and then after that she went back to normal, just laid down, take a nap. But 2:45, she ate more of the wet food with the vitamins, and this is when I decided to put this down here. It looks like crushing of the vitamin in her wet food is the best way to get it into her system. Then at 5 p.m., she's still grazing, and she finished the wet food and eats more dry food when she wants to graze. And at 8:15, we gave her some more gabapentin. November 6th, 5 a.m., Kiara woke up in our arms again. We woke up to her purring very loudly, so she was super comfy. 5:15, I gave Kiara another crush vitamin in wet food, and she immediately started eating it again. So the wet food is where it's at, I guess. 8:58, Dr. So-and-so filled the ivermectin prescription for us. .09 milliliters per dose, once a week for 8 weeks. And this milliliter is at 1% ivermectin. So 0.09 milliliters is about zero point 0.9 milligrams per dose. So that's how much she's getting. I should annotate that right here just in case. Let's see. Is equal to... All right. So put that down. Here's 1%. There we go. Just in case this will help annotate in the future. All right. So at 9:10 a.m., we gave her some more gabapentin. We noticed some vomit on the floor at 7:45 p.m. when we got home from work. So it was liquid bits of wet food in it. May have been caused by the vitamins. So I decided to drop that down to half a vitamin a day in her wet food, or at least spacing it out, half a vitamin in the morning, half a vitamin at night. So that way she's not eating too much of a vitamin that just makes her nauseous. Because that's happened to me before. I don't know about you, but sometimes I'll take some pills or some vitamins, and if there's nothing in my stomach, I just get nauseous. So I'm hoping that if we reduce it to half a vitamin in the day, half a vitamin in the night, it will help balance it out to where she's not getting overwhelmed. But her stool looked very healthy again, and she didn't eat much, so she didn't finish one portion of her wet food and had a little bit of dry food. So hopefully it was just the fact that she may have felt a little nauseous from that vitamin, and that's the only reason why she didn't really have much of an appetite. But at 7:50 p.m., we gave her some more gabapentin. 8 p.m., she starts licking her hind legs again. Twitching in her back legs is present, but it's not much. It's clearly causing her discomfort or annoying her. Seems like a normal occurrence as seen in the past. It wasn't really, if you weren't paying attention and looking real closely at it, you wouldn't notice it, because they would twitch like a normal cat usually twitches, where they pull their legs back when something brushes up against their feet. It looked like that, but it was short and jerky, and it didn't seem like it was a neurological kind of thing. Like she was conscious that she was doing it, and she was meaning to do it. 8:05, she laid down to relax and is no longer trying to lick her legs anymore. Twitching is still there, but mild and not very frequent, like I just said. 8:55, Kiara is showing signs of anxiety. She's moving around aggressively with high energy, so she's like pacing around the room at this point, and it just seemed like weird behavior. She doesn't normally do that. But at 9:10, she seemed to have gotten a bit of an appetite and started diving into her food, just chowing down on it. And then 9:45, she was relaxing under the bed and seemed like she had finally calmed down from all of her anxiety, was like ready to chill. At 10:30, she started exploring and acting like her normal self again. So what caused that bit of anxiety, I don't know. We didn't give her any ivermectin or anything, so I don't think that could have been the cause. It could have been the gabapentin. We don't know. But sometimes cats have their weird zoomy moments. Maybe this was one for Kiara, but since she didn't have anywhere to zoom, she just paced around the room. Who knows? Cats are weird, but she's doing great now. And then she hopped into bed to cuddle up with us, and she did a great job hopping up there. So no signs of ataxia or lack of coordination. But yeah, she was audibly purring and doing her little biscuit factory, so she was doing great. All right. At 5 a.m. On November 7th, Kiara slept under the bed after sleeping with us all night. Basically woke up in my arms again. She finished 1.5 portions of wet food overnight, so she got really hungry overnight and just downed everything. This is when I started to think maybe she just doesn't have an appetite when there's nobody else in the room. Maybe it's a sense of loneliness, or she's just not hungry. But whenever we show up and we're sitting in the room, she seems to get her appetite back and want to eat. So at 5:20, I gave her more wet food with vitamin in it, and she immediately started eating it, and her stool looked very healthy again. 8:50, we gave her more gabapentin. At 9:40 a.m., Dr. So-and-so informed us that she's not willing to adjust the dosage amount, as I was mentioning earlier, and advised us to stick with the doses as prescribed, since this is the highest safe amount that she can take without any side effects. Which I also emailed her again, and I was like, okay, I totally get that, but we need to give her more than the normal quote-unquote highest safe amount in order to get it to target cancer, because otherwise, from the human studies at least, we know that it's not going to touch it. So I emailed her that, and we'll see what she says, hopefully in the next couple days. At 6:45 p.m., she looked really good. She was very affectionate and purring. She ate all of her wet food with half a vitamin in it and some dry food, and she drank tons of water. At 7:16, Kiara had a little grooming spat again. This time it only lasted about 60 seconds, and boop, done. It's about the normal grooming fits that she has. At 8:52, Kiara takes more gabapentin, and she immediately went to get some wet food right after, probably because it tastes terrible. Every time we give her gabapentin, she just starts salivating at the mouth and like trying to get it out of her mouth. I mean, I feel bad for her. I don't want her to feel like that. All right, November 8th. At 5 a.m., she woke up in our arms again. She ate all of her dry food and wet food the previous night, so her diet is definitely there, or her appetite is definitely there. That's a big plus. Hope to see more of that. 5:20, Kiara gets more wet food with the crushed up vitamin. And at 8:50, we gave her more gabapentin. And then at 7:05 p.m. when I got home, she ate all of her wet food again. We gave her more with the vitamins in it, and she went for it immediately. So she's finishing the half vitamin and then wanting more wet food with another half vitamin in it. So that's great that she's getting that much vitamin in her. November 9th, 1:15 a.m., Kiara ate all of her wet food. At 1:50, we gave her more gabapentin. At 8:30 a.m., she basically was sleeping with us, but she would get restless and like hop over me over to my girlfriend, and then hop over her over to me. So she kept trying to like go back and forth to find a best spot to sleep. But we woke up to her audibly purring. She ate some dry food. Again, her stool is still looking healthy, so still no signs of diarrhea or anything. That's a great sign. At 2:30 p.m., we gave her some more gabapentin, and the fluid buildup between her stitches and her tissue does seem to be shrinking still. Very slowly. It's shrinking very slowly. It might be because she's got more room to run around in that big room, so she doesn't rest as much as she could, as much as she should, so that it goes away faster. But I think it's better to have her in a room where she's not depressed and sad than it is to keep her in a room where she's got nowhere to move, nowhere to go, and she's just miserable. But it's still going away slowly, and that's all I care about. If it wasn't going away at all, if it started getting bigger, I would put her back in the small room, just to be like, girl, just get through it. I'll be here right by your side. Just got to get through it. But she's doing great, so, and it's still starting to go away. She's still eating her wet food with vitamins, which is still good. At 6 p.m., she ate some more. At 6:05, this is when we gave her the prescribed ivermectin, 0.9 milligrams, or the 0.09 milliliters. And we're waiting for email from the doctor at this point to see if we can increase it, because the dose she's taking right now is 0.225 milligrams per kilogram, which is still less than a third of what we had previously given her. It might even be less than a fourth now that I think about it. It's very, very small. No, it's about less than a third, just about less than a third. So we would like to get that dosage up a little bit, just to get more in her system so it can process all of her body instead of just one little part. But we'll see what they say. 6:20 p.m., Kiara is exploring the room again, and she's grooming herself casually. She seems to be like a completely normal cat at this point. At 6:30, she got comfy on one of my desk chairs and Tuesday to fall asleep. I don't know what Tuesday is doing there. I think I meant to put goes and it auto corrected. Gets up onto the chair and goes to fall asleep. Still very aware of her surroundings. She moves her ears and head at sounds from outside the room or whenever we get up and move around the room. She's very attentive and like watching our every move. And on November 10th at 9:40 a.m., she ate all of her wet food and dry food overnight, and she ate more wet food with crushed up vitamin as soon as I gave her more. And at 9:45, we gave her more gabapentin. And 10:30, she ate more lysine treats by themselves. We didn't really do anything else for the rest of that day. We had a lot of plans, so when we got home, Kiara did eat the rest of her food. She was doing great. And we decided not to give her the gabapentin that night, just to give her a break from it. And yeah, that was basically all of November 10th was just the morning section, because we didn't really do anything with her that day since we had so many plans. But on November 11th, I think it was yesterday, we gave her some more gabapentin in the morning, and she ate 2 lysine treats on her own, so I put 5 more in her food bowl. And the liquid buildup in her abdomen is still appearing to be shrinking, so it should be gone in a few weeks, at this rate at least. Then 9:35 p.m., Kiara takes more gabapentin. She only had 1 portion of wet food, so we're hoping she eats it overnight. And today, November 12th, she did. She ate it all overnight, and she even ate a bunch of dry food overnight. So her diet is still there, and her appetite is still there, and she's still eating quite a bit, which is very promising. We're hoping that the vet is willing to compromise with us and see if we can't give her a bigger dosage, just to see if this can help with her cancer. We're going to call a different vet, the one that I usually go to, because this one's like emergency special vet. But the one that I usually go to, we're going to try to get another ultrasound and see if we're making any progress next week. I'll schedule that today, but we're trying to get an idea of where we're at and compare it to where we're at now. So where we were at in the past when this all started and where we are now. And to do that, I've got this guy. So these are the documents for Kiara, and I will go over them in the next video.